All right, good morning, everyone. We have a very special guest today on our YouTube channel, Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh has 6 years of professional experience in software development lifecycle, spanning across multiple sectors, including telecommunication, geospatial, oil and gas, and focus on quality on focus delivery. He has worked in several companies. He has worked in as an application developer on Ocean Engineering full time for 1 year and 2 months. Mr. Singh has worked as a data scientist at Ericsson. Mr. Singh has worked 3 years and 6 months in Infosys. He holds a bachelor in electronics and telecommunication. So, Mr. Birendra, I really, first of all, thank you so much for taking out time and joining in today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Somil.
So, for people who do not know about Birendra is really good at Elasticsearch. So the reason I wanted him on my YouTube channel is he could tell us about his journey, and a lot of people can learn about it. So before we, hop into Elasticsearch part, would you tell us what made you interested in software engineering? I mean, why did you decide software?
So that's a good question, actually. Basically, I was from electrical background. As the years passed, by the end of the fourth year, I realized that this is not what you know I want to do. So I want to do something where I am doing something and I can get the instant results quickly, like you do in the coding, right? So you are writing something and then you can see the results very fast. So that's what software development attracted me, and I landed IT job.
Was
Yeah.
it difficult for you to switch from an electronic background to computers? Did you had a hard time learning about programming and language? If so, how did you overcome all those barriers?
Yeah, so actually I was Infosys was my parent company. So I still thanks Infosys for training me. Like those training days were very difficult for me. Like it was so I didn't have any programming background, and so during the Infosys training only they made me to learn the Python in the generic training. Then in the mainstream I was trained in Java. So I built a complete theater application in Java. Uh, I passed all the exams very difficultly, but one thing I learned in Infosys was that if you try something, then you can definitely achieve. So it's not like you are from a particular background, so you can't do software testing or software development. You can do
That
anything.
that is great. That is great. So, how long did it took you to learn about just about programming? Was it 1 or 1.5 years, or more than that?
Yeah, it took me like more than 1.5 years. So it totally depends, how much you are exposed to, production environment. So you can learn anything, but the main experience you get when you go to the production. So it took around 2 years for me to actually go to the production. So for 1 year I was just learning and doing some POCs, but the main thing that I learned was in the production, which opportunity I got after 2 years.
Oh, that makes sense. So before we jump into all the Elasticsearch question, we would like to, we can say a lot about a person by his habits. So what was your day like usually before when you started the journey of software engineering? Were you, how much hour you used to spend on programming? What's your routine like during those days back?
So before coming to that field of software engineering, uh, I was not doing any coding seriously. So I was not doing any coding. So my daily routine was like, coming from college to home, then doing, preparing for the exams and just clearing it. But, when your college days are going to be ending, and then you have to, think about your career. So there, I took the decision that I should move to software engineering, because there I can see some scope that if you are doing something, then you can get the results. Uh, yeah.
That is amazing. So are you a morning person or a night person?
Yeah, I am a morning person basically.
All right,
So I
that's
used to,
great.
yeah, yeah.
All right, that's good to know. So let's start about questions on Elasticsearch. So how did you even come to know about the Elasticsearch stack? Where did you hear about Elasticsearch first?
So Elasticsearch, my company was dealing with that all most of the telecom clients. So
Mhm.
they have always issues like some recharge is failing or some fraud has happened. So what the company decided is to have some system in which if something goes, some anomalous thing is happening, then we
Mhm.
should get some alert.
Okay.
So and those logs are like huge, like they are live logs. So every time you will get some like in one day you will get uh, around 100 GBs of logs. So you
Wow.
have so you have to process all those 100 GBs of logs, and those logs are very different. Not having the proper structure. So you have to just filter out the all the lines, and then you have to extract the important information. Then
Mhm.
based on that, you have to design your cluster. Yeah.
That's great. So how did you start learning about this? I'm pretty sure they don't teach Elasticsearch back then in school or colleges. So
Yeah.
how did you start? Where did you start from learning?
Yeah, so like I said, like when we my company was taking that project from the telecom client,
Hmm.
so they gave us a buffer time of around 5 to 6 months that train your
Wow.
be train or get certification on Elastic side, and we have some projects in pipeline. So that
Okay.
time I started learning the Elasticsearch, and Udemy was my main source of learning, and
Okay.
I personally thank Bo Anderson's videos on Elasticsearch because
Oh, and Anderson's okay.
yeah, so it covers almost all the areas, right from architecture to pipelining and searching. So if
Okay.
any is beginner, then you must follow the Bo Anderson's videos on Elasticsearch. That is very awesome, and you get a huge you will be knowing a lot when you are seeing his videos. So you might feel that you can do anything, not I know everything of Elasticsearch. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. Bo and Anderson for the viewers who wants to start learning. So what are the core components a person should learn in Elasticsearch? What are the core things that, or what are the most fundamental things a new person needs to learn when he or she wants to learn about Elasticsearch?
Okay, so actually it depends upon like what kind of project he wants to he is doing, or his company is taking like if you are working on the pipelining thing like data ingestion, then
Mm-hmm.
you must be focused on the Elastic Logstash and
Correct.
beat agents like Filebeat, Metribit. All these are essential things. So you should be knowing all these things and how to configure. That is also a requirement, and all these things you can do like without going even to the production. Like you can do set up all these things in your local system. So how we used to do is like we created like a 3 to 4 virtual machines on our
Mm-hmm.
Oracle VirtualBox. Then
Okay.
we used to connect all those together. Then we used to configure all three, 4 nodes to create our Elastic cluster,
Wow.
so that
Manually?
we can, yeah, manually, so that you can mock the production that if I have 3 nodes in my production, how I am going to configure them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Uh, so Um, so yeah, a person can start with all that. They can refer all these tutorials. Okay, what's a role of an Elasticsearch engineer usually in industry? What, according to you, does an Elasticsearch engineer have to do? What are the roles and duties an Elasticsearch engineer needs to perform? Could you talk about that a bit so people can know about that?
Yeah, so what I have seen in the industry is like for an Elasticsearch developer, uh, I will say Elasticsearch just not developer, because in Elasticsearch we have two different kinds of profiles, admin and
Okay,
developer.
all right.
So admin is responsible for you know uh, maintaining the cluster health, always cluster health,
Okay,
and he is responsible for designing your uh, architecture, how your nodes will be looking like, number of nodes and all these stuffs. That is the role of an admin. And if you are going for the developer, then developer is responsible for just creating your pipelines.
okay.
If you are dealing with the ingestion work, and if you are dealing with search optimization, all these things, then he is responsible for creating the queries.
Understood. So typically, even in Elasticsearch, there are three separate domains: search domain, the user will only work on queries, analyzer.
Yeah.
Then you have an ingestion domain where he's only responsible of data ingestion using
Yeah.
Logstash or Beats. And the third one would be admins who will be monitoring the node, CPU, JVM, etc.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct.
Understood?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Absolutely
impressive.
correct.
So, do you recommend any other resource other than Udemy for anyone that you uh,
Okay.
use for learning Elasticsearch?
Apart from this, Elasticsearch documentation are the best source of having the knowledge of Elasticsearch. So if you are stuck anywhere, then documentation is the best place to visit. And I would suggest that so nowadays everything is on cloud. So most of the things you don't have to do. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what is happening inside the cluster, right? So try to build your own cluster on the local system, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, having installing the 3 to 4 VMs on your virtual box, and then try to see, like when you are bootstrapping the cluster, what is happening, how the nodes are getting connected, if any issues comes, and how you are going to resolve. So this will essentially improve your knowledge that how the things are going inside the Elasticsearch. And
Okay,
this is the most interesting part of Elasticsearch, when you are debugging what is happening, why my node failed. So you
got
can
it.
see your cluster logs, and you can check what wrong happened.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah. Um, I'm pretty sure, a lot of people, are moving towards Elasticsearch because I have been getting so many requests, which is why I really wanted to, do this interview. Also, could we talk about shards and tuning? Where can person find more information on that? Advanced topic on Elasticsearch, such as shard tuning, replicas, or moving data from node to node. Where can anyone start learning about all those things?
All those things must be present in the Elastic documentation, I guess, because whenever you are searching for these things, you get. But the thing is, like, many of the things are not straightforward. So they will just give you the APIs, then you have to experiment what is happening. So
I
that's
see.
what I said, like, you have to first create your cluster on your local system, then try everything. Don't do it on the
Got it.
production right straight away.
So
Yeah.
what was your one, let's say, a moment on when you were working in the past on Elasticsearch that you really messed up something? Did you ever mess up something on production on Elk? Like it was really, really bad, or you were about to mess up something? Did you had any
Yeah.
moment there?
Yeah, the when we were designing our, when we were first bootstrapping our production nodes, that time it was messed. Like some of the nodes were not able to join the cluster, and we got
Okay.
at the end we have two cluster. So that we resolved that one. But yeah, apart from that one, nothing really happened, which is drastic for me. So that's what I said. Like first try it on a local system, then do the experiment. Don't
Got it,
play with
got it.
Elastic. Yeah.
So I also wanted to ask you a question, not getting into too much details, but what sort of volume have you been working with? What's the maximum volume of data you have worked with on Elasticsearch? Would you have a rough an estimate, maybe was it in gigabytes, terabytes? What sort of volume are we talking about?
Okay. So the project that we were doing with the telecom client, so
Hmm?
those logs were like uh, they are not they are the time series they are the time series data, so they are
Yes.
not useful when it becomes older.
Yes.
So we had a life cycle policy every time that
Okay.
for one or 2 week we will keep the data, and we will do all the analysis, all kind of machine learning jobs we will create.
Hmm.
Thereafter those are not required, then we then our ILM policy is used to delete those phases. So so daily wise, if you see that we have around 2 terabyte of data that we were dealing.
Wow. Two
And
terabytes of data?
yeah, 2 terabyte of data daily. And so and our clusters, we have I think 5 nodes, each having 15 terabyte of capacity. And we and when we calculate, like we have around 10 to 9 use cases. So we calculated that we can sustain only 1 week of data. So
Okay.
we designed our ILM policy, like within a 1 week we will flush it everything, so that new data can be stored.
I think this is a massive data volume that we are talking about, everyone. Just so you guys know, 2 terabytes of daily volume and 15 terabytes of capacity on each node. You have 5 similar node. That's massive. So what was one of the best thing? What was one of the best feature maybe you worked on Elasticsearch? Something that you can recollect.
Uh, s- the best thing that I did was on the ingestion part on the Logstash.
Okay.
So I think many of the people don't know that. Maybe I don't know whether people know or not. So in the Logstash, you cannot write any other language than Ruby. It supports
Okay.
Ruby only. So we have a unstructured logs. So and
Mhm.
those are very around more than 100 logs. Those were
Okay.
unstructured and in different form. So you cannot write even some grok pattern for that. So for
Got it.
those logs, I wrote a code in Ruby, and
Okay.
that was a generic code, and that used to get the important information. Like they gave some keywords that so that used to fetch those keywords and with the timestamp, and then we applied some machine learning logic over that one. So for people who are want to learn the ingestion part of the Elasticsearch,
Mhm.
then they must start learning Ruby as well. So
Got
Ruby
it.
will be helping a lot.
Okay, that definitely helps a lot of people. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. So couple of other questions. So when a user applies for, of course you're from India, you're right.
Hmm.
When you applied for
Hmm.
job for Elasticsearch in India, right? Uh,
Hmm.
that should someone focus more on data structures algorithm to clear the interview, or what is it? What is the interview process like in India for search engineers? You know.
Okay. So in India, uh, for the search engineer, they won't be asking any algorithm. So they are more
Okay.
focused on how manipulation of scoring, basically how you
Ah.
manipulate the scores of Elasticsearch
Okay.
document so that whatever you want should appear on the top. That is what is
Got
the
it.
priority. It's like I had an interview with the Monster job, and they have the similar kind of requirement that they want to manipulate the score. So they have the different kind of requirements they have, but everything comes around scoring only.
Got it. So basically, if anyone is preparing for the interview, they should learn more on scoring side and not
Yes.
focus very much
Yeah.
on algorithms, right?
Yeah, so for the search engineer, they should more focus on the scoring part, and for the people who want to go for the pipelining kind of thing, then they should focus on the Logstash and the beat agents.
Got it. That makes sense. Um, um, and the last thing that I would like to ask is, do you have any, any suggestions or any comments for our viewers on if they are, if I'm pretty sure a lot of people are extremely new and they haven't even heard about Elasticsearch. So, any of your suggestions or comments for the viewers?
So I would suggest that start learning Elasticsearch. If you start learning Elasticsearch, if you are really interested, then start you know take some data from online sources or something, then
Mm-hmm.
ingest the data into Elasticsearch, and try to analyze it, that how what kind of requirements could come from the business or someone if the same project is coming coming to you. So try to create queries using should, must, and filter clauses or different clauses,
Okay.
and check how the results are changing. Check the scoring part as well. So scoring is very important. So just after adjusting the should, must, and filter clauses, just check how the documents are scored. And uh, and also I would say it's like uh, we had lot of requirement that people who are most available should appear on the top most of the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Okay.
just focus on the mainly the things which are present in Elasticsearch which contributes to that area,
Okay.
which I already said, like you making use of different clauses. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what you should focus on.
Okay, that is great. So, I mean, once again, I just want to say thank you so much for taking out time. And what would be the best place if anyone who's watching this video want to contact you? So, what would be the best way of, getting in touch with you? Would that be through an email or your LinkedIn?
It would be through my LinkedIn, so they can
All right.
contact me via LinkedIn. Yeah.
All right, then we'll put that in the description. So once again, thank you so much for taking our time. It was really nice having a conversation with you around search, Elasticsearch, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be motivated by seeing this interview, and they want to learn more and more about Elasticsearch. So once again, thank you, Birendra, for joining in today.
Yeah, thanks.